All right. I am just so pleased today. I'm blessed to welcome someone who I've had the privilege of teaching with, but who I call a friend, and that's Dr. Brent Aucoin. And back in 2019, Dr. Aucoin and I had the privilege of co-teaching with him, and he did a lecture on just the illegality of the Civil War. And in the midst of that, brought up some topics that I thought it would be so important for us to share. So we're going to spend a little time today just digging into that, leaning into that. And I want to just again note that this is a person who I respect very highly and has much to say in this area. Dr. Aucoin is Associate Dean of the College of Academic Affairs at the great institution, Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary. He's also a professor of history there. Having done much of his work in Louisiana and in Arkansas, he comes with just a wealth of knowledge. And so, Brent, it's good to have you here today. Thank you for taking the time to be a part of this discussion.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
The monuments today are almost like the top of the iceberg. That's what we see. That's the flashpoint. But what other steps were taken in the past to push that message of the lost cause, the righteousness of the movement down, and white supremacy down into Southern culture that we possibly may see come about later, or it has been ingrained into the system of the South or even America?
Yeah, good. So I mentioned the white supremacy campaign and that there are a number of components to it, and some are quite obvious, like establishing segregation. That sends a message to African Americans. Disenfranchisement had its practical purposes as well. But in addition to those things and erecting statues, we know groups like the United Daughters of the Confederacy, the Sons of Confederate Veterans, other groups not only promoted and sought to erect statues, but they tried to influence public opinion through pamphlets, publishing and distribution of pamphlets, of sending out speakers, but also sort of lobbying the government, particularly when it came to what was going to be taught in public schools, and advocating that certain textbooks be used. We even have instances of the United Daughters of the Confederacy lobbying against certain college professors because it was learned that they were teaching certain things that went against the lost cause narrative. Or they targeted certain textbooks that didn't seem to give as much support to the lost cause narrative as they wanted to. So historians have shown, one book in particular, Dixie's Daughters, which is about the United Daughters of the Confederacy, does a really good job of this, showing how textbooks changed in the South and the influence that they had in promoting like certain holidays, promoting certain events, all designed to kind of whitewash the Confederacy, to put it in a positive light, and to, again, promote that lost cause narrative. But the textbooks and such, they really paint a terrible and distorted and inaccurate picture of Reconstruction. And it helped play into the mindsets, the narrative that whites need to be in control and that blacks, at least then, was the idea, were not civilized, were not ready for freedom and needed to be sort of under the paternalistic, careful watch of whites until they reached a certain line of development. That seemed to be what was taught, and that generations of white Southerners grew up learning that.
So when we talk about, there's been a lot of discussion as well about systemic racism today. That seems like that seems like a great example of how that has become a part of our mindset, because that whole phrase really talks about not even thinking about racism, we just operate in it. And so for many Southern whites, their frame of consciousness is around that narrative.
Yeah, I think so. That has shaped and guided generations of white Southerners. And I think they because of segregation, the races developed separately throughout much of the 20th century, and it was easy for whites to just view things from their own white perspective and not see it from the perspective of African Americans. And in their bubble, their white bubble, they're imbibing the whole lost cause narrative. And then individuals who, those school children who go on to be police officers, judges, political leaders, business leaders, they act on those ideas. Their view of African Americans, their view of Southern and American history, one in which they almost see African Americans as the culprits, as ruining what had been this glorious Anglo-Saxon civilization. And therefore, I think that whole lost cause narrative promoted by the United Daughters of Confederacy and others was poisonous and helped to get us where we are, unfortunately, today, and where we have been when it comes to race relations in America.
Thank you. That's a very powerful statement. And I'm looking for us to, again, take that and personalize that as we interact, whether we be African Americans interacting with whites, because we said it's not just a Southern thing, it's in the North as well, or whites operating or interacting with African Americans. You know, both ways. The black-white relationship issue is such that we have to understand this is a lot deeper than just a moment in time. This is something that is in our way of thinking. And so there must be patience. There must be an attempt for reconciliation. There must be an attempt to have interactive, I say constructive conversations. And so thank you. That sets that tone just perfectly.
Yeah, good.